And welcome back to the fourth episode of Behind the Workbench. I'm Jon.
I'm De Yang.
And here at Behind the Workbench, we talk about design thoughts, the reason that we do certain things. And in this case, we're talking about our design decisions behind Aeons of Adventure. But before we get into all of that, that's a new intro that will be in most of our videos and our streams and whatnot. That's courtesy of my wife. And besides that, this weekend we will be at TableCon. So if you're in Singapore, please drop down at Suntec, I believe, and we'll be there. So if you want to take a look at the game, you want to check out a demo or look at some of the stuff that we have physically there, feel free to do so. So some of the things that we have that are new, that are prepared for Table Conquest this week. As you can see behind us, we have a little banner. So we have a banner that's new. The previous one is going to be a little too big to fit into the booth. So we have a smaller one here. We have printed a new box. So this is a nice cardboard box. It's still empty behind. Yeah. So we have a nice box here, right? Oh, there's a, yeah, I mean, too bad. My mic. Yeah. And we also have a couple of like little acrylic stands. So the actual basic set probably won't have acrylic stands because acrylic stands are pretty heavy and they probably add a lot to the cost. But we'll have a similar thing. It's made of like a punch-out
Punch-out
cardboard.
tokens,
Yeah, so punch-out token, and then you can stick it so that they can stand up compared to your typical monster tokens that will be flat, right? So as always, we'll be talking about some topics that we have gone through over the past week and certain things that is on our mind, or perhaps certain topics that, some prompts that are commonly discussed when it comes to designing TTRPGs, right? So for the past week, so that was on Saturday, right? So last Saturday we talked about the Arcane Mastery. So let me see. I think it's this one, right? So the Arcane Mastery was the last reviewed Magic Mastery. So for reference, we have a total of 12 different masteries for combat. So there is armor masteries and there's racial stuff, but generally in terms of combat, you have 12 masteries. A bunch of them are martial, some are magical, some are specialists, right? So magical masteries, we have 4 masteries. We have Radiant, Flame, Frost, and the last one which was reviewed was Arcane, right? So we reviewed Arcane on Saturday, and so let's talk a little bit about why Arcane, right? Like why was it that we reached the decision of Arcane Magic? And I think Arcane Magic was one of the ones that we decided from the start. But I think like Flame and Arcane was like pretty set from the start.
Yes. So Arcane was also the first one to design. So it had the longest running magic mastery that we had. The reason is very simple. We just wanted to do pure magic.
I think it's clean.
Yeah, I think it's very simple.
The concept of like magic darts, arcane bolt, I think those are must have in fantasy TRPG, right?
Yeah, they are your bread and butter. If you put it that way. Yeah.
It's a must. But I think that we had the most amount of changes to the details of the skills when it comes to Arcane. Right? We actually changed Arcane in terms of magic mastery. Okay, actually all of the magical masteries changed quite a bit.
They all changed quite a bit, but I think Arcane, in terms of fantasy design, was not quite what we expected at the start. Then we sort of tweaked it in a way to be more, at least for the starter set, we wanted it to be more more multi-aspected in that sense.
More varied.
Yeah. So it's more appealing to, not say appealing, but basically to showcase that it is the fundamental of all magic mastery out there. Yeah.
I'm trying to get this in frame. oh, like that. Yeah, hell yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I seem to recall, so Arcane Mastery, initially when we did playtest, we had 3 skills each, if I'm not wrong, like 3 or 2. So some had 2, some had 3.
Correct. So actually back then we were actually testing it at a set level, which is level 3, where we actually gave 3 skills over, I think like it was 5 or 6 mastery. We didn't have the full 12 set.
We didn't have the full 12 set.
So we had a few chosen one that we knew we wanted to already do it at the start.
In those of fantasies,
I think 1 or 2 in the end didn't make it, but yeah. So for the most part, it was the same. Some of the skills for Arcane was decided quite early on. Through playtesting, it was not that the skills was bad, but it was not interesting enough to be placed inside the basic set. Yeah.
So for some reference, the mastery system in Aeons of Adventure is not exactly a class system in the sense that you can pick between different masteries and you're kind of forced to multi-class in a sense. And as you learn skills in the mastery, you gain more options that are unlocked to you and you spend mastery points to learn them, which you obtain by leveling up, right? So it is, there are some choice nodes at certain levels where you can choose whether you want this skill or that skill, or you can choose to take all of them if you want. And this allows for mixing and matching of different masteries, right? So while we were doing the initial playtest, we playtested it at level 3 instead of level 1. So you can think of this as in D&D, right? Like a lot of people skip level 1 and 2 because they're so risky. Like the odds of you dying in the level 1 and 2 combat is so high that people just go, okay, let's start the subclass, right? So in the same way, we designed level 1 and 2 to be beginner intros to the system, whereas we designed level 3 to be, okay, this is what you are going to be expecting for most of your combat experiences once you understand roughly what your character can do.
To put into more perspective, it's more of like we designed level 3 to be the kind of the norm for all combat encounters moving forward from there. 1 and 2 is
tutorial.
It's still tutorial. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, it's still pretty deadly in that sense. It's not like in D&D where the difficulty curve is much harder. Here we try to tune it down because we don't want players to feel like, oh, why is it so hard at level 1 and 2? And then the moment they hit like a level 3 and then it's so easy suddenly.
Yeah, so easy, yeah.
We wanted to smoothen the experience out so that it's as the feeling is the same throughout the level experience. And the exact main reason why we took level 3 was also because, right, it is the middle level of the campaign that we're releasing with the basic set itself.
Right. So there'll be a short adventure from level 1 to 5. Right, so level 3 is smack in the middle. So it is the average midway experience.
So level 3 was also chosen, right, because it's also the level where you gain an additional stamina. Stamina.
Yeah. So it goes from 2 stamina points to 3 stamina points. So you are now realistically playing at a decent amount of stamina points to play with. Right. So while we were doing that, initially we set up with 3 skills per mastery, and we had like 6 or 7 masteries to start. And Arcane was there from the start, I think with 2 skills, which was Mana Imbue and Arcane Bolts. I think those were the 2 main ones. Yeah, the rest came pretty late. I think Arcane Spear, which didn't make it to the end.
The AoE.
No, not AoE, the one that's slow.
Oh, yeah.
So the right now in Arcane, we have the 5 skills, which is Arcane Bolt, we have Mana Imbue, we have Summon Mana Bond, we have Glyph of Storing, and then we have the Spell Thief. Right, so if you want to find out more, you can go check out the live, or I'll be uploading a vault with all the timestamps as well, which is not up yet. But we have those 5 skills right now, and of those skills, I think the only one that stayed all the way to the end is Mana Imbue and the Arcane Bolts. And Arcane Bolts was not in its current form.
Correct.
That like the old version is not its current form. Right? So the current form scales to the amount of affinity that you have. So the more affinity, the more bolts you fire. But the old one was just you fire 3 bolts. It was fixed.
Yeah. There was no scaling.
Yeah, there was no scaling at all.
Yeah. Mana Imbue slightly changed to give the user itself the bonus damage to Arcane Bolts. The damage stays the same.
Wait. No. So there was an iteration somewhere in between where when you had a crit success and a critical success, Arcane Bolt gave you an additional bolt.
Crit.
Yeah.
Crit.
So the crit one. So you plus 1 and then you get a crit.
Yeah, but it started off with 3 bolts, and then I think
it became 4.
You gain plus 1.
Yeah.
But your damage profile didn't change. Yeah. So that part was roughly the same. Mana Imbue basically the same. Yeah.
But yeah, so like as we were designing the Arcane Mastery, at some point I think our design philosophy to separate the spellcasters and the magical masteries a little bit more, kind of gave birth to like, okay, so we were trying to, I think it was after the archery and the Swift Edge Mastery, after we designed them and we were quite happy with what they landed on. We wanted to give every single mastery sort of this unique design space.
Correct. But the direct changes to Arcane wasn't purely because of that. It was also purely from the fact that I was not really happy with how it turned out. Yeah, so Arcane was too, for the lack of better words, boring.
Yeah, it lacked flavor.
It was very...
It lacked character.
Yeah, there was no reason why anyone would take Arcane because of like it being interesting and stuff like that. People were taking it because it just is Arcane. Like,
I think fantasy-wise, it's okay. But the issue that we had with Arcane was that mechanically it wasn't very fun, right?
Correct.
And we had a playtest where I believe somebody took just Arcane Bolt and they were just spamming just Arcane Bolt. There was 0 interactions, you're just making ranged spell attacks all the time. Right? And it quickly...
With the occasional imbue, but
right.
Even then, it's not that fun in that sense.
So there's not much of a room to even imagine exactly what you're doing. So you just think about it as Warlock spamming Eldritch Blast only. So you don't have any spell slots, you're not doing anything, you're just spamming Eldritch Blast, right? Not the most interesting of things though. So
it makes you not enjoy combat, which is our key concern, which is we want players to have, with this mastery that they have and with this like custom build that they have, enjoy combat. And Arcane was not the way.
It was not enjoyable, basically.
Yeah, it was not enjoyable. Like you reach the point where you'll be thinking, what am I doing with my life? Right? Because you're just spamming Arcane Bolts.
It became truly like the range DPS character.
It was a shittier archery.
At that point, yes,
At
it would
that
have been
point,
initiative archery.
yeah.
Yeah. So I think eventually we decided to give all of the magical masteries more of its own kind of flavor. So Flame got burned. Frost has this whole thing with slow and stuff.
Stuff. Yeah.
Radiance have Radiance is quite
Radiance
a
was
wide
unique
range,
actually
yeah.
from the start, so there
So
wasn't much.
Radiance we didn't really
Yeah,
touch
we
too
didn't
much.
much.
But then when it came to Arcane Mastery, what happened is we gave it scaling. So this is quite dangerous when it comes to TTRPG in general. So because the numbers are so small, right? Scaling and multipliers tend to get out of hand when your numbers are too big.
Correct.
So if for some reason your affinity balloons past +3, it starts to get a little bit out of hand. Right? Which is not too bad in Aeons of Adventure because our maximum is usually about +3 or +4. Realistically lah.
Yeah, realistically you hit +4, I think. With items and like okay, so
and high level.
Yeah, if you just exclude any like if you just only have the raw stuff, yeah, you maximum maybe hit +5, and that is like probably at level 10.
Yeah. So if you can compare it to like Dungeons and Dragons when you are at a 20 stack, right? So that will be literally a +5, right? So in if you're familiar with the skill, so things like Arcane Bolt, as you gain your affinity, you fire more bolts, right? So a +5 would mean that you're firing 6 bolts because it's 1 plus affinity. Yeah. So this is something that we decided to like really jump in on, which is that okay, let's scale almost everything on Arcane in some way with affinity, because like Arcane is really supposed to be you're the character with max affinity with magic, and you're like the master of manipulating the finest, the mana and magic and like all that stuff, right? The energies of the world. So what better way to do that than to actually scale it directly with your stat in terms of flavor and in terms of mechanics, right? So that's something that kind of comes with a double whammy.
Okay. So and to add on to that, which is when we talk about like manipulating magic, because it's the raw, Arcane represents the raw magic, right? So that is where we also came out with like the Glyph of Storing as well as like the Spell Thief, where it brings more in line with like, because you understand Arcane at that level, you have at that point you have invested around 3 to 4 points 3 to 4 points.
Yeah, 3 to 4 points.
And you are roughly expert in that sense. So that's why we decided to like, okay, so what are things that we can do? Because you are now quote unquote in the game, you're an expert now. So that's why we came up with like give things like Glyph of Storing, as well as like I think specifically Spell Thief, where there is this like, because I understand magic and I understand Arcane as a raw thing, I'm able to control or fight for control of this spell, no matter what mastery it came from.
Yeah. I think when it came to Glyph of Storing and Spell Thief, so let's start with Glyph of Storing. So Glyph of Storing is pretty similar to what you have in Dungeons and Dragons, which is one of the wards, I think. It's like one of the wards of like spell casting. So
I don't remember.
You write a ward and then you can store a spell that you can cast. So it's like saving a spell slot, right? But the whole function of it in Dungeons and Dragons is like you save spell slots.
Correct.
Right? You can set traps and you can save spell slots.
If I'm not wrong, the meta way to use that was actually to use everything before you rest.
Yeah, and then you regain your spell slot, then you have like all these stored spells.
Correct.
Right. So that was a very like meta solution. But the way we did it in AoA is that it's an enchantment. So enchantments you can only have one at a time. And an item can only be enchanted once at a time. So it's a much higher cost. But we don't have spell slots. So you can actually cast as many spells as you want. It's more of a contingency or a trap or a counter. So the purpose of it shifts quite a bit. Right. And I am not a big fan of the idea of like you're storing all these things so that you can spam them later. You can do that once, like you can store one spell, that's fine, but you're not storing like a whole bunch, like a pocket of them, like then you just throw your spells out. So that's kind of defeating the purpose of spell slots, but you're like, it becomes almost a compulsory slot to ignore spell slots.
So it also will affect, not really balance, but not balance on the mathematical or design sense, but balance in terms of like the gameplay, where it will lead to the outcome where every player will want to dive deep into Arcane to get the Glyph of Storing, which is not what we want. Right? We actually don't want players to dip into like put a 2-point dip or something like that to get a certain skill. That's not what we want. We want players to get that mastery because it fits the ideal of the fantasy. The fantasy that they want. Yeah.
But I think on that point, of course it's fine to take a dip to pick up whatever skill. But when the dip is so efficient that you want to do it on everybody, i.e. action search, your smite, things like that. When it is so efficient, it stops being an option. You have to do it now, right? Because it's too good, right? Of course, yes, you can always say like, yeah, it doesn't fit my character, all that stuff. But you know, if it's gonna cloud out all of your other options, right? Is it really an option? Which this is more of like a video game sort of design thing where you have overbalanced characters, and if you're not playing the overbalanced character, what are you doing, right? So that's something that it's not that we're trying to create a perfectly balanced world, but we don't want it to be the case where, because of the multi-classing nature of it, right, we don't want it to be compulsory to pick up certain points. Yeah, so we're very like wary about certain scaling and all of that stuff. But on that note, it goes on to the next point, which is Spell Thief. So Spell Thief was something that I believe I was watching like DC20 talking about like magic duels or something, and then it came to me that okay, we can have something similar where we are dueling and stealing a spell and whatnot, right? But how do we make it the AoA version of dueling your spells out? So you can imagine it's like you cast a spell and I'm like, okay, I want to deny you, and we didn't want to do counter spell like directly because it can be very frustrating to deal with someone who has infinite counter spells.
Correct.
Right? Because we have stamina.
Especially on the receiving end as well.
Yeah, both ways.
Correct. And I think that's especially the case here because it is kind of expected in that the enemies will have the same skills as the players, correct? Because basically everyone has masteries. Right?
Yep.
So it might be fun to use it, but it will not be fun when it is used against.
Yes.
Correct? And that was something that we try to look as well, where how frustrating or how fun it will be for certain skills to be played as well as played against.
Yeah. There are a couple of skills that are pretty similar to that, right? For example, one of them is Counterspell in Dungeons and Dragons, Silvery Barbs, right? It's just things that are there purely to deny someone else of their joy. Like you're not doing anything to them, you're just saying no. Like that's not particularly fun if there's no cost to it, right? So Spell Thief is our version where yes, there's this whole thing where you're rolling off and then you're paying stamina to try and stop them, and they're trying to like fight back. And if you fail, it still goes through, and there's always a roll. There's never like an auto counter spell. Like that never happens, right? So there's always some level of risk when it comes to using Spell Thief.
Correct.
Yeah, I think that whole logic holds true throughout all of our design when it comes to all of our skills and masteries. Minus ratios, because ratios are typically once a day or passive. So they are allowed to be a little bit more OP because you can only do them once, right? They're not repeatable, you can't spam them. It's not like spell slots. Yeah. Which you don't have your stamina points. So technically, if it's not limited by day, you can use it infinitely. Right? Which is
unless
it's good and bad.
Unless otherwise stated.
Yeah, unless otherwise stated, yeah. But it's good and bad.
I don't think we have any that is of that nature right now.
Yeah.
I
don't think so.
The Summon Companion.
Summon Companion, yeah, it's stated there.
Yeah, it's stated, on the card. But that's the only non ratio that has that clause, which is once per day.
Yeah. But yeah, besides that, I think most of the Arcane Mastery end up, because of how varied the skill range is, so you have you have a range option.
Range DPS, you have
an imbue,
buff,
you
have basically a pad.
You have a utility trap.
Yeah.
Right. You have a turret. And you have this basically counterspell.
Correct.
Right. Yeah.
So it's just meant to showcase that Arcane is the root of all magic.
Right. It's a full package.
Correct.
Yeah. Compared to Flame, which is I burn you in different ways of burning you.
Correct.
Yeah. And then
Frost is like different ways to slow you.
Different ways to slow you.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct. And then,
of course, there's more to it than just simply slowing people.
Correct.
Right?
There's a lot more details and level there, but
the core identity is slow and burn.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that is also true only for the basic set. In the full set, we might have a secondary sub-tree that is like not burn.
Yeah, so you might think of it as like a secondary design space that we're offering to Flame. This might be unique, this might not be unique. We might borrow from another mastery, maybe like take certain parts out. Yeah, but that is something that is for us to decide in the future. So in the basic set, it is Burn, Frost is Slow, Arcane is Affinity, Scaling and Utility, and Radiance is a little bit of everything that range of support and multi-classing.
Correct.
Yeah.
With emphasis on like healing and stuff like that.
Yeah, a little bit. Not exactly.
I mean, it's the only other healer.
Yeah, it's more focused on synergy, if anything else.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look at the next one that we I uploaded yesterday. So this one, yeah. So okay, Kleimen. So if you have seen the X post that I've uploaded, or on Discord, if you have seen the AoA content promotion page lah. We went through this a while back in the Races of Chorinthia stream, and Kleimen is one of our 5 races. So the 5 core races of Chorinthia that is part of the basic set are human, alphabetical elves, Dara, human, Kleimen, and then the Vienna, right? So those are the 5 presets right here. So this one that we released this week is the Kleimen, and just to add a little bit on like what exactly the Kleimen are and why do we make it that way, right? Because traditionally in a fantasy TTRPG, you have dwarfs, gnomes, you have halflings and goblins and stuff like that.
Very fantasy, standard fantasy fare lah.
Yeah. I mean token lah. It's token basically, right? And yeah, I think traditionally those are things that people would expect, but if you have seen our tagline for Aeons of Adventure, it's JRPG-inspired 2d6 card-based game, right? So JRPG-inspired is the very first thing, right? And I think when it comes to JRPGs and a lot of the Eastern focus media, typically when it comes to characters and races that are playable, they are usually cute in some form, right? They are cute or annoying or adorable, right? So the kind of like Asian or Eastern inspired version of the dwarf, the halfling, and the gnome
is combined to one.
Yeah. Well, okay,
Kind
so
of.
dwarf, I think there is something else to be explored for dwarf, but I'm setting that aside for now because if you have a dwarf and a gnome at the same time, there's like 2 short races now, right? So the base set currently we'll have is the Kleimen, and the Kleimen is basically our short race. It's going to be the combination of like the gnome and the industriousness of a dwarf plus the annoyingness of like a Kender in Dragonlance, halfling luck, that kind of thing lah. So the idea is, yes, we wanted to have a cute short race. That's the gist of it, and it's supposed to represent exactly what that is, right? So if you want to play that annoying short guy, you have Kleimen, and then you want to play the industrious, the hardworking miner blacksmith, Kleimen, right? So that's exactly what you'll get. At the same time, it is also the guys who are the most obsessive. So if you want to play like that kind of like nerdy character who's like an inventor or like overly obsessed about research about a specific thing, 9 times out of 10 in the world of Chorinthia, it's going to be some kind of Kleimen, right? Minus majors. So, of course, the Kleimens are not really so. They're not so
friendly. No, not friendly.
Friendly is not the word.
Yeah.
They don't look kindly upon spellcasters, not because they don't like magic, but because they don't like laziness, right? And it's kind of like a misconception because it's not exactly lazy to use magic, but it can come off that way, right? It's the same thing as like using a calculator when you're doing math. Okay, at some point, like, yes, I can do the mathematical equation in my head, but
it's more efficient to just use the calculator.
Yeah, like, is there a real reason to, like, go through the trouble when I know I can do it, but I can do it faster with this machine? So, in a sense, that's kind of like what Magic is doing. Whereas the Claimers approach it in a sense like, okay, I have to manually calculate this thing every single time, and I'm gonna use my knowledge to infuse like magic from the environment and stuff, and then make this like product instead of just casting it through or channeling through themselves, in the world of Chorinthia. So you might find things like magical engineering, different machines, and items that are crafted with the purpose of harnessing and manifesting these things, but they kind of look at it as, oh, this is like the fruit of my labor and my hard work, as opposed to cheating. Even though it really isn't, like, it really isn't cheating. Yeah, it's just like a cultural perspective upon magic, right? And this extends all the way to the point where they would shun certain members of their own race if they were to deem that these guys are slacking off. So you might be, let's just say you play a Kleimen who's like a layabout, like he's lazy, he doesn't want to do work, and then his fellow, like maybe his parents even, or like his siblings or whatnot, may look at him like, this guy is a disgrace to society, please kick him out, right? So this is a slightly representative of what you might see in certain Asian societies, just to put it that way, right? So like there is a perspective of, not perspective, there's this
understanding.
Yeah, there's this natural understanding, like, hey, you're part of a community, you're part of this group of physically challenged beings who have to survive in generally tough locations such as volcanoes, mountains, caves, and like the Nordic areas, which is snowing and tundra. So now why did they choose to survive there? Nobody knows, right? I mean, we know, but nobody knows.
Ancestral homes.
Yeah, ancestral homes
Yeah.
perhaps. But yeah, so because of that cultural understanding, they look at these guys and be like, hey, these guys they're not contributing to what we should be doing, right? Which is working hard and getting everybody on the same boat and creating something that can contribute to society. Yeah, in a sense, they're kind of like communistic, right? If you look at it that way. Yeah. But when it comes to gameplay wise, Claimants are similar to halflings, I think. Like half-foot, not halflings, sorry. Not halfling, dwarves. Yeah, mechanically they're more like dwarves. So you have guys who are like stubborn, rerolls, they're more sturdy, things like that, right? So they are generally gonna succeed in more rolls through their racial abilities, but downside is they're short, right?
So and short comes with lesser movement speed.
Yep. So lesser movement speed, and
I think that's the only thing that was very outstanding design perspective wise. And actually initially I didn't want to have that because I wanted to make the game as not as how to say, not as calculating. But I think in the end we
crunchy.
not as crunchy yeah. So in the end I think we were like, okay lah, I think this can be one of those few sections that we have. And we kept it to 25 feet.
Yeah, 25 feet of movement. So typical for most fantasy TTRPGs.
Reduction of 5.
Yeah, reduction of 5. So from 30 feet to 25 feet of movement. Right. So there's your movement speed. But I think when it comes to crunchiness or not, I believe somebody posted on X. But Aeons of Adventure it's crunchy in one way, but not in the
tradition.
Not in the mental sums way, right? So you're not going to be rolling dice and adding numbers together on the spot and trying to figure out exactly how much you're doing.
You're basically not playing a war game here.
Right. You typically have a set of tools because you have multiple skills, right? And then you, with all your skills and options and the fact that there's no real turn order, all the players take their turn at the same time and all the enemies take their turn at the same time, right? So this is a side-based initiative. Yeah. So with that in mind, the very fact that you have all these options makes the game slightly more crunchy because you can combo, and combo is what adds this crunch, right?
And on that point also, we specifically design for combos. Correct. So we have things like, and I mean D&D also have this, which is like flanking and stuff like that. But flanking in AoA is much more important and much more sought after than you would have expected, because it most skills have quite decently strong good great success
bonus.
Yeah, and that comes from
a guaranteed version of it comes from flanking.
Correct.
Yeah. But I think on that point, so when it links to Kleimen, so Kleimen comes with currently their racial traits is 2 different passives, right? So they are slightly less active compared to the other races. All the other races have just about all of them have some kind of either active or reactive skill, and the Kleimens have passive ones. But that's also because they have the effect of being small while not actually being small. So what does that mean? Yes, you have -5 movement speed. You count as small for most things, but you don't count as small when it comes to things like pushing, shoving, and carrying and grappling, right? And those are things that typically you can only do up to one size above you, right? So you actually count as a medium creature in terms of like your strength, right? But when it comes to riding an animal, you're small, right? So this is a little clause that only Kleimen players have to remember, honestly. But realistically, like if you're a Kleimen player, you always remember that you're small, right? I think that's all the
took that for the reason.
Exactly, that's like a core defining trait of being a Kleimen, right? You want to be a short guy who wants to be small and do all these things, but we don't want to make it like imbalanced in the sense that now you're a small creature. I think like traditionally in Dungeons and Dragons in O1, if you hold a heavy weapon as a small creature, you get disadvantage, right? So those are things that we don't.
I think it's like what unwieldy or something like that.
I think it's literally just heavy.
And is it heavy?
As in the property is heavy.
Okay.
Yeah, the property is heavy, and then when you hold a heavy item while you are small, it is disadvantage.
Roll,
yeah, something like that. So like traditionally, it would be disadvantageous for you to play a gnome who uses a greatsword.
Yeah,
it just doesn't
gnome and longbow also.
Yeah,
longbow.
I'm not sure if longbows are heavy. I mean, it's heavy for us, it's not heavy for them, yeah. So yeah, that's kind of like the design space that the Kleimens took up, right? So it's the short guys, the industrious guys, and slightly communistic guys, in a sense. Okay, let's move on to the third topic. Okay, so on this point, we Okay, so when we talk about analog and digital, right, we're talking about, do you play in person? Do you
Online,
play
offline.
online, offline? Do you play using VTTs? Or do you
Mm.
just like virtual call your friend or something like that lah? Or do you play by post, which means that you basically never talk to the guy. You're just sending a forum post and then you wait for them to respond and stuff like that. So those are like your traditional like message boards kind of play styles, right? So we had a little poll, I think last week, after the Behind the Workbench number 3, right? So I put a poll on X, right? So our X and all of the social media description is in the link below lah. Then the results came back quite surprising. So in in my head, I was thinking that most players, right, in today's day and age, maybe about 50% will be playing digitally, and then 50% maybe analog lah. But it seems like analog, granted small sample size, right? But it seems like analog is still pulling ahead a little bit more, right? So we're looking at about maybe 60 to 70%, right? And then there's a decent amount who play digital only exclusively, right? And it makes sense because if you have to, schedule, move around, or maybe you live far from your friends, you're unable to play.
Yeah, I think that point really depends on where you are in the world in the first place. If you're living in Singapore, high chance you can just meet face to face.
Yeah,
because
anywhere. Okay, so for some context, you can get anywhere in Singapore from one end to the other in less than 2 hours. 100%. Right.
I think you can one end to end is 1 hour.
But certain routes might not be so efficient, right?
But basically, it is short enough for you to always meet face to face.
Yeah.
Outside of certain COVID conditions.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. Yeah. Besides the COOF.
Correct.
Right.
But so I think that was between our, because we did play D&D, and I think that was the only reason why we won't play online. Yeah, outside of that, I think we'll basically meeting weekly for our sessions and stuff like that. Yeah, so I think if you're living like in countries where it's much bigger than here, playing physical might be a bit of a challenge lah. So I will understand if they play digital.
Yeah. So my expectation was that Americans, Europeans, because the country is so big,
the travel time.
Yeah, realistically, if you have to drive somewhere, this could be like 3 to 4 hours, like there, and then another 3 to 4 hours back, right? Which can be quite unrealistic for people to travel just to play their RPG games, right? Granted, unless they're like staying over at the next town or something. But besides that, unless their local game store is like in a central location, they're gonna have to play digitally, right? And I think that's just the reality of playing TTRPGs today, right? And also because it is so accessible with like Roll20, all of your Foundry.
With all the new like VDTs and not VDTs at the same time, like
just tools, right?
Correct, yeah, just tools. Tabletop simulators is one of them. Correct. All these tools enables the digital aspect of the game to be much bigger than what it was previously, which is just voice call.
Yeah.
Like Skype calls.
Yeah. Basically Skype call and then video call and then you just play.
Skype call, TeamSpeak, right? Like your traditional like voice over internet protocol like calls right? Instead, now we have like almost simulation games-ish of play style that we can do now with VTTs.
Yep. I think one of the more prominent ones recently is MCDM. So MCDM basically has like a VTT that is essentially it's a video game, right? You can do everything inside the thing and it simulates out the game exactly as this one. So it's created by, I believe it's created by someone part of MCDM lah. Yeah. So that was for Draw Steel. Yeah. And so what does that have to do with Aeons of Adventure? We have designed the game primarily with analog play in mind. Right? So it's offline play, you're playing with your friends. That's why we have things like cards and like small character sheets, less dice and all these stuff.
Basically, our design philosophy for the game, right, in the most base method was it needs to be portable because we are expecting analog gameplays.
Yes.
Right? Yes. But we do have consideration for digital, which is stuff like the rulebook, PDF. I think even the cards we will be
there will be digital versions.
Correct.
So there will be PDF copies of the cards.
We are still going to encourage plays for both digital and analog. However, we would say that we prefer analog if we're able to, because that is where you can actually play. It's more emotionally charged in that sense.
Mm,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think these games are meant to be played in person. Like they're not
mm.
meant to be played digitally, even though you can. Like we have made, like we have settled for playing digitally, but
Mm.
ideally you're still playing physically, in person, at the table, right?
Mm.
And that's why we've designed the game around being in person. And I think this also stems from the fact that we live in Asia, we're based in Singapore, right? And the culture is not we're not so, how to describe it? If we're going to be playing digitally, we're probably going to be playing a video game instead, right? So
Yeah.
the idea of like playing a RPG or a board game over the net is not so prevalent here, right? Most players in Singapore, I believe, do play physically.
Yes.
Yeah, I think when it comes to players who play with Singaporeans in Singapore, I think as well for like Japanese, they go to game stores, right? Rarely do they might find a DM online, but they still go to like a local game store to
It
play.
will be like an appointment, and then you have a physical location, which is actually what we do in Singapore. Also, I think you have those kind of services that you can do online.
Like
booking,
finding
correct.
people,
And then after that you have
looking
like,
for group.
correct. It's basically
Yeah.
looking for a group, and then if I'm not wrong, it was like you go to someone's houses or something like that.
Yeah.
That's
So,
my knowledge of it.
but when it comes to that, so I believe I was asked by Mildred during the interview. I believe his interview is somewhere hidden in his live playlist, which is very difficult to navigate through.
I think like 2 weeks ago.
Roughly
around.
So he was talking about so are we gonna have a VTT, right, within Aeons of Adventure? And my answer to him is like, I would love to, but I think it is unrealistic for us to have a VTT at this point, right?
We have no programmers here.
Right, I can give you the PDF for all of my rules. I can give you the PDF for the cards, but you're gonna have to roll that 2d6 yourself, lah. So I think that's the be all and all of like this whole digital discussion when it comes to Aeons of Adventure, the basic set.
And not only that, it's like at this current stage, right, our team is only like 2-man strong.
Yeah, in terms of like depth, yeah.
Correct. So it's unrealistic is not really the correct word. It's more of like there are other things to prioritize at this current stage. Like what you said, I think we would love to have a VDD, and we did have this conversation where when we finish the release of the basic set and we move over to the core set, we do want to push for that as well. And we are also considering things like a website.
Digital tools,
digital like
digital aids,
correct,
card builders. I think card builders is one of the big ones because we want to encourage people to create their own cards, because homebrew is a very big thing, right? Like in the TTRPG space, and generally I think people want to create their own skills, they want to create their own classes and monsters and whatnot. So having some kind of a card builder is very important for us.
And I think that also stems from the fact that we want players to create their own fantasy, which is all the more why we believe that homebrew is actually a very important cornerstone of AoA as well. Yeah,
but that brings us to the next point, which we're going to talk about is maps, minis, and theater of mind, basically, right? So now we've talked about like digital and physical, and we've already said that so we're designing around physical. So how physical is Aeons of Adventure intending to be? And right off the bat, I want to tell you, because we going to mention it again, JRPG-inspired 2d6 card-based tactical TTRPG, right? So the tactical TTRPG portion and the card-based are very physical. So we are designed around having a gridded map, and we're designed around having some kind of tokens for you to signify like who is who, which monster is which monster, right? Very similar to Draw Steel in a sense. We are not gonna shy away from that. We are gonna be, as in not that we're similar to them, but we're not gonna shy away from the fact that we are very much crunchy in the sense that you're calculating your distances, your areas, your movement, and all of your positioning and stuff.
However, we are not going to the extreme where we are bringing up rulers.
No.
We are not going to that level. Okay? Yeah.
But technically, you could if you don't have a grid.
You could. Yeah. But just use a grid paper.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a grid paper, we will provide a grid paper inside the basic set as well. So the basic set comes with a big, I think it's like A2 grid paper, 1 inch, standard mini size lah.
I thought it was 8. Okay, I think that one's up for discussion.
Then you can just fold it. It will fit into this A4, nice A4 size box. Right?
But we will provide the grid paper. As for the minis, right? In our case, we are actually I think like what you mentioned with the tokens, the acrylic tokens. We will actually be providing punch out tokens instead. So like cardboard punch out tokens, similar to I think most not say most, but quite a few TTRPGs out there where they have a punch out token. And in our case, we'll be providing for both lah. So the presets and the monsters. So
Yep.
they'll both get their own punch out tokens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when it comes to punch out tokens for the heroes, they're not going to be the round ones, but instead something that will allow them to stand up, so that you know who are your player characters. Right? Just small things that will help you to better visualize the the field, the battlefield, right? So that's one of the things that I was thinking about when right after the poll with the in-person, digital, and stuff like that, right? So the very next thing was like, okay, how many people, right, don't play with anything physical at all, even though you meet in person?
The RP crowd.
Right. I mean, yeah, some people are acting out their stuff, they're dressing up all of those things, right? But when it comes to combat, they're still acting out the stuff. There's no there's no terrain, there's no nothing. They're just like theater of mind, okay? This guy is roughly 5 feet, or this guy is near or far from me, and I'm just gonna roll the hit. Right. And I think sometimes that is okay, because it doesn't really matter. Like you're in a room, you're definitely gonna reach him, and that's where it comes to like what about guys who play theater of mind? Like is Aeons of Adventure something that is designed with theater of mind in mind?
So the right off the bat, the answer is not exactly. So like what I mentioned, which is we actually base everything around a map, correct? We do want players to play a physical map, a gridded map in this case. And the reason why is also because we want players to we are giving all these tools, right? This includes the cards, right? We are giving players these tools to help them visualize this.
Yeah.
However, if you are a group of players who can visualize this, then of course you can go ahead and don't use this lah, correct?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, how the DM or how the players want to run the table, it's still
it's up to them.
Correct. Right. So I would say that even though we are not fully designing around like theater of mind, it is easily adapted into theater of mind. Yeah. However, I think like things like near far, right? I think that one is a bit different in that sense because we are still going by feet.
Right. Because so that might very be crunchy in that sense.
Correct. So I think that is one of the few things that for the theater of mind crowd, it's a bit hard for you to migrate over in that sense. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it'd be difficult to migrate over, but the game is much more shallow if you're not playing with distances. You're not playing with like
simplified distances.
Range is something that we play around with a lot. Right, it is one of our core design mechanics.
Correct. I think range is a really, really big concern if you are fighting against the bigger guys, because that's when distance really come to mind. Yeah. I think when you're fighting like normal monsters, like
I think for your generic kind of like
your bandits
encounters, like your bandits, your wolves, I think it's alright.
It's easy. It's very easy to visualize those. I think those are very easy. Those can be very easily converted, but I think when you are facing against like the bigger guys,
right? Like colossal monsters,
or this, right? It will be a bit harder. I would say so. But is it impossible? I don't think so. I think it's still very possible because these are really things that we have really also specified in terms of the range, the feet, and it's just up to a matter of how do we convert this number to the simplified terms, right? So maybe like 60 feet is near, 120 feet is far, stuff like that. So these are things that is, I think, up for home brewing and
like home rules.
Home rules lah.
But when it comes to the colossal monster thing, right, I think colossal monsters, I think I mentioned this in a second or first Behind the Workbench, which is that colossal monsters are, in your imagination and in your fantasy, they're very cool, right? Tarrasque, very cool. Realistically, not very cool. You have many ways to deal with them in a very uncool manner, right? So mechanically, they're not interesting.
Correct.
They either are too strong in which they ignore everything, or they're too weak in which you can do anything to them and it kind of works. Right? It goes both ways. So the way that we've done it is that, okay, the colossal monsters are essentially a map by itself. You're going to have to deal with the environment, and they are the environment, right? And you have to do different parts of the monster, and they're big, they come in different stages, and you have to fight them and expose and eventually like eliminate them lah, ideally, right? Or you get eliminated, one of them. So when it comes to that aspect of it, right, I think it's very difficult for you to play full theater of mind in Aeons of Adventure if you want to deal with the colossal monsters because of the nature of to climb this 60-foot monster and then like stab him in the eye. You know,
Mm.
you could, but it's a bit of a stretch. Yeah.
I think it will be the hardest one to convert, I would say. But like what I mentioned earlier, is it possible? Definitely. But it will take a bit of skill in this sense. But so I think that's the only part where I would actually recommend to not theater of mind. I think everything else it's fine.
Yeah. But I think when it comes to playing, so if you were to purchase the basic set, you'll get a physical box, obviously. So with all of the things inside, you get the grid, the tokens, and the dice and all that stuff, where you get the cards. And if you purchase the physical set, you'll get the PDF. And if you just want a PDF, you can also just purchase the PDF. Right? The PDF will come with the digital copy of just about everything. Right. Now, I would recommend give the physical a shot as much as possible. And if you die, you cannot meet with your friends or whatever. At least look at the visual of the cards, the reference sheets and all those stuff.
So I think that's the key one. I'm still not sure about the details of this, which is for the card PDF, we are actually thinking to not have a full artwork of it as well. I think that's still under discussion between the two of us. Yeah, because cards are still what we would say a very unique thing for us even though it has its own usage and everything. We are still considering whether do we want to actually give it out in a PDF form. But definitely
I mean, mechanically and details wise, it will still be given out, of course.
But those are already in the core rulebook.
Yeah.
So at that point, are we thinking about, are we giving the cards? Yeah. So I think, like what you mentioned, cards is still, physical cards are still the best in that sense, because it also, I mean, we design all these cards, right, with the intention of it evoking, like, it helping you to imagine as well as like to assist you in the role playing aspect as well. Like, for example, like when you use a certain skill, right, like what does it actually looks like when you're using the skill, correct? So that is the main and kind of main purpose of the cards itself, the card image, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So on that point, so the cards, the art, the reason why we did the cards the way that they are and not the way that, for example, Daggerheart did theirs, which is that I think like more than half the card is actually just details, whereas we wanted as much of a card to be illustration as possible.
Correct.
Because we want to invoke this. It is there to kind of like prod at your imagination to be like, oh, this is what your character could be looking like or doing in this moment, right? And it kind of pushed that idea to the extreme. That's why most of the card art is going to be some character of some sort, which is usually related to the skill. For example, the spear. I haven't showed the spear yet, but for example, the shield, right? So the shield character, we show off like the Kleimen. So you can imagine if your character is a Kleimen and he's holding a shield, what it might look like if he's doing the same move, right? And in the lore, Kleimens are also known to use shields because kind of like the equivalent of dwarves, right? So in the same way, it's there to help you to imagine these things, right? On top of giving you the information that's in a spell, right?
And I think we have mentioned that before, which is because of that very reason, right? Which is we want the players to see the art more. It also gave us like limitation on our wording and stuff like that, which is actually good and bad, you can say. Yeah,
I think generally it's more good than bad. Because it helps you to tighten up your design, right?
Correct,
like it gets the words very precise and exact.
But all these are restrictions that we have placed upon ourselves because of our design philosophy here, especially for cards itself, which is we want players to use the card as a source of inspiration, first of all, and as well as like use it to ease their gameplay as well.
Yep.
So I think even if you play with theater of mind, right, I think cards are still going to be in use.
Yeah, like some visual aid here for you to just spark your imagination.
Like, I think even if we go into theater of mind, right, cards is still kind of very useful. You can don't play the map, but I think the cards are still, I would still say, right, it's a kind of compulsory item.
If you're going to be playing with your spell list and character sheet open somewhere, it's basically the same as playing with cards. So let's just put it that way, right? Because the information is all compact into this little cube, right? And you can stare at this one square. There's all the details you need there. They're placed in different locations that are easy for you to notice and to read, right? And at the same time, you get this little visual and be like, oh, that's what it could look like. Yeah.
I mean, okay, I'm selling a lot of the cards right now, but also, there is a like text version of the
Yes.
the spell, the
Yeah.
mastery and all this inside the rulebook, the PDF rulebook as well. So all those is also accounted for. So actually, if you don't like to take cards or you don't like to use cards, all this information can still be found in the rulebook.
Yes.
But do take note, the rulebook is obviously bigger than the card. So
well, I mean, if you're physically carrying the rulebook lah.
yeah, correct.
But if
yeah.
you're opening the PDF of the rulebook, then yes, you can just like split the two. So that's if you have watched our mastery deep dives, that is exactly what we've done. So all the details there are actually snipped directly from the rulebook. So that is what it looks like in the rulebook. So yes, it's a spell stat block.
Correct.
For every single skill.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in that sense, so within the whole Aeons of Adventure, yes, we are designed around having maps. We are designed around having gridded maps. It's physical. We have cards. You have minis or tokens. Your choice. Right, really. Like some people don't want minis; they want tokens. Some people want.
Some people only want minis, want tokens.
Yeah. Some people refuse to play with tokens for some reason. Right. They prefer. They must have like a model of something.
I think also here, right? We should also make this clear where when we are talking about minis here, we are not talking
like 3D
about
minis.
Yeah, we are talking about 3D minis. We are not talking about like acrylic sets.
I think everybody understands that minis is miniatures of the character.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Because on that sense also, right, which is we actually do not provide minis at this current stage, okay? At this current stage, we don't really have any plans for that.
Yeah.
We do have 3D people on that, but there is nothing set in stone. Yeah, so we just want to make this.
There will be no miniatures in the basic set.
Yeah, basically,
we will have tokens and we will have stands, but not miniatures. Like that's out of the question. It will make this box,
explode.
Yeah, it will explode.
Yeah,
and shipping from Singapore is not the most convenient thing ever.
I mean, still okay lah. It's not that bad. It's not the worst.
It's not good. It's not good. Okay, and so with that, we have come to 53 minutes of Behind the Workbench. Right, so we're gonna close up and just do a little bit of logistics. So as I mentioned at the start, we will be at Table Conquest this weekend. So that is Saturday, Sunday in Singapore. If you're in Singapore, come down and take a look.
I think we also do some pre-post on it to like the location.
Yeah, if you follow all our socials, which is in the description below. So our pre-launch Kickstarter page is down at the description, along with our X, Instagram, Facebook group, all of the social media, and of course the YouTube channel itself. So please like, subscribe, drop a comment, boost the algorithm.
So on that point also, I think they just gave us the location of the map. The location of the booth. Yeah, so I think that one we will do a post closer to the weekend.
Closer is tomorrow lah.
Closer is tomorrow lah, basically lah. Yeah. So I think we'll do that because and then I think so Saturday I think it's 9 p.m. 9 a.m. 10. I don't remember the timing right
10 a.m.
10 a.m.
So 9 a.m. is for us to enter. 10 a.m. is for everybody else to enter.
So 10 a.m. I think tickets is still early bird pricing right now.
Yes.
I think
so 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. if I'm not wrong.
I don't remember.
10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday and Sunday. Right. And so because of that, there will not be a Mastery Deep Dive this Saturday. I will still post stuff onto X and all the Facebook and everything. And we will resume Behind the Workbench next week, and then the next Mastery review will be the following Saturday. Yeah. And so with that, I have been Jon.
I'm Tayang.
Signing out. I'm going to play this thing again.